Alright, this will be Altium placing our parts on our printed circuit board. We'll just cover again very quickly. If I want to move a part, put my mouse over the part, left click, keep my mouse button down, I can move my part around. While I have my mouse button down, I can hit my space bar and rotate the part, place it wherever I want, let go of my mouse, it stays there. Now let's look quickly at some properties on these parts. I'm going to double click my part. It'll open up that part. Here's the properties. It tells me it's on the top layer, the designator's P2, the comment says input. Notice that the comment is checked hidden right here. If I want to see that comment, I can uncheck that, say OK, and there's my comment that says input. I'm going to grab that comment and put it right next to my part. Then I'll do the same for my other B and C connector. Comment says output, uncheck, click OK, grab my part, move it, rotate it. I think I'll put my output comment right up here. Very good. My P1 connector, if you remember, on the schematic side was my power. Here's the text, power, unhide. I can say OK. Grab my part. I think I'll double click it and stick it up here somewhere so you can start to see how easy it is to move my parts. Let me explain what these little white lines are. These little white lines are the actual net connections. This is telling me that R3 needs to connect from here to here. That's where it needs to connect. So if I grab R3 and move it around, you'll see my net connection moves with it. So I can place that up here. Somewhere around here. Let's move my op amp up here. Things might get a little tight, so I'm going to just quickly place some parts. Now as I move and place these parts, you'll see that the net connections move with them, and it'll show me how the net connections are going to have to cross. And that'll be important to keep track of. Look at these net connections. You'll see that these caps are in parallel, C1 and C2. And then I have C3 and C4 and C5. Let's see. C3 is over here. Now I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to do Control, roll my scroll wheel. I can also do page down, page up. And if you look at my C3, you'll see the net connections are crossed. You'll see them crossing right here. That means that the copper is going to have to cross. Now, it will probably route that way with no problem when it routes the copper, but let's make it a little bit easier, right? We're supposed to be engineers here. Let's look at this ourselves and do some of the functions we need to do ourselves to make the algorithm a little easier to function. So I'm going to grab my component here and rotate it. I'll take my comment and rotate it and put it back here. Now look, my copper just needs to go straight across on both of these. A lot easier for Altium to be able to route the copper when the time comes. Now if I go back to my schematic up here, I can look at it and see that C1, C2, and P1 go together. C4, C3, and P1 go together. So I have my parts grouped here. I'm going to draw a box around them just like I did on the schematic side and move all those parts at the same time. Right up here. Now I can move my power comment a little bit if I want. Get it out of the way. I might want to zoom in here a little bit and see, is there a better way to hook these up? Gee, it sure looks like C1 would lay here pretty nicely if I look at my net connections. C2 I can put here and then move my comment out of the way. So you'll see how I'm adjusting everything as I go, right? I want this to be able to route with as little trouble and hassle as possible. This is part of your art of doing a nice board layout. So here's my capacitors on my input where my power comes in. Nicely laid out. I can zoom in a little bit and see my net connections. They're all connected up correctly. And we're going to feed that power to this op amp. U1. Let me just move that. Now I know I need on my U1 my two bypass capacitors, C5, C6, and my resistors. So let's take a look again at our bypass caps here. There's C5. I'm just going to move it close. Where is C6? We want to move that in there. Whoops, C6 is way out here. We'll just move these parts a little closer so when we zoom in, we'll be able to see everything a little easier. Alright, I'm just going to draw a box, move these closer, zoom in a little. So let's take a look. Here's C5. Where does C5 need to go? Well, I can see my net connections. It wants to go right there. That's fine. I'll take my comment and rotate it so it's easy to read. And C6, where does C6 want to go? Well, I see that it wants to go here. Might be easier to rotate that. Now C6 is right next to its pin. I could put it down here. Alright, have it very close. Remember, we want to keep it close so that the lead resistance and inductance is very small. I'll save, go back to my schematic. Now let me see. R2 is my input, R1 is my feedback. So let's take a look. Here's R2. I know it needs to connect to this connector up here. Let me just rotate that. I'm going to move my U1 and move this R2 designator. I can put this here. I can put U1 right back here. Move this a little closer if I want, right? Now let's see. R1, where does it want to connect? You'll see if I zoom in, you can see the net connections where it's trying to go. Alright, it'll fit right here. And you'll see it's connecting here, connecting here. R4. Well, that'll lay here. Now what happens if I don't put it correctly? What if I put it right here? Again, I can see my net connections have to cross. If I wanted to put it there, it might be a lot smarter to rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it and put it right up here. I can move my designator again. Move my part up here. There we go. Now let me save all. I'm going to zoom to fit. Here's all my parts. I have all my parts on my board. Everything fits pretty nicely. And here's the shape of my board. So next we're going to want to talk about board shape and layers. For this lecture, this will be good for now. I wanted you to see how to move your parts, rotate your parts, place them on the board, look at the net connections. We've taken care of all that. So let's zoom to fit. We'll do a file, save all. I'm good to go. And I'm going to end this video here, and we'll start next with layers and how we can change layers and move our entire board shape around. Thank you.